So we got another traitor on our hands, and I really need the conservatives to focus on this one thing just for once, okay? So welcome back to the Freedom Pines podcast. I'm your host, Jamie A.B. This is where we debrief and discuss pop culture and politics from an independent perspective. And if that interests you, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, and share this with your friends because I need to get my name out and call me Canada. Let's get into it. So look at these bags under my eyes, okay? You guys can tell that it's Christmas and I have children because this is what moms look like all through December. And then on December 26th, we can literally be like, everything's done. Everything happened. I love making Christmas magic happen. So don't take this for anything other than me loving my life, because I truly, this is the best part of being a mom, in my opinion, creating Christmas for my kids. Anyways, so today we're going to be talking about something that the conservatives continuously need to focus in on, and that is that during the Stephen Harper era, we did not get the child tax benefit. Okay? Every single time I hear them lie that they invented the child tax benefit, they amalgamated the child tax benefit from the federal and the provinces and whatever they had, and they smushed it together, and that's what makes the child tax benefit. However, I remember walking every 20th to the bank. It would be after, because back in the day we got checked, and I would put her in the stroller and we'd go to the bank and put it into our bank accounts, and I didn't even have online banking, so I'd find out how much I had in my accounts. Anyways, it was just a little routine that we did. However, every single time I hear this in question period,
focus on helping Canadian families, and it's why Canada Child Benefit checks will be delivered early.
They have been delivered early in December since I was a mom, and I've been a mom since 2013. Okay, they have come early so that all the poors, all the plebs can go and make sure that they have gifts for their children, and they make sure they give it early so that we're not scrambling after the 20th. And the first thing that PierrePoilievre should have said when it went back to him was, we've always done this. Stop lying to the Canadian people. I can't find my actual thing. The thing that I had that I thought it was my Ontario Trillium benefit from 2014. So I'm kind of confused where it's filed away somewhere, and that's the thing, I keep everything. So I have legitimate proof that we got a good amount of money when Stephen Harper was in, but part of it was from Ontario, and then part of it was from the federal government. But this drives me insane. This is one of the main talking points that they put on TikTok all the time. And because the conservatives are not monitoring what is going on TikTok, because I guess they're not allowed to have it on their phones, which is fair, but you guys still need to understand that TikTok sways so many people, and even just reading the comments sway people into voting a certain way. On TikTok, they were very going hardcore about PierrePoilievre taking away women's rights, and that was not anything PierrePoilievre platformed on. In fact, it actually makes a lot of conservatives angry that he's not more pro-life. They need to correct the record. Every single time the Liberals lie about this, when it comes back to them, they need to say, that's not true. Are they not allowed to say that? I have no idea. Probably not, because parliamentary privilege is a freaking joke, and they're allowed to just literally lie, and it doesn't matter because nothing will happen to them because of this parliamentary privilege. So they can go in there and just say things loudly, as I believe it was Catherine McKenna said in a bar, and people will believe them. Well, the conservatives, I understand their messaging, and it's great, and they're making valid points, but the fact is that Canadians think that PierrePoilievre is going to take that away from them. PierrePoilievre is the boogeyman in, everywhere else, okay? So please, conservatives, take that into consideration, and please correct the record when they say stupid things like this, because Canadians actually think that because you're not correcting it, then you're agreeing with it. So now we're going to talk about the obvious, whose job is it in Canada to actually do something? So CSIS comes out and says, you know, there's Chinese interference in our elections. They're not actually clear, but these Chinese interference messages are actually very pro-Carney. That's obviously not clear because they don't want you guys to know that about MarkCarney. But they come out and they just say, hey, this is happening, just so you guys are aware. What? Is that your whole job? Is it no one's job in our government to, I don't know, counter that? Figure out how to stop it? What are we doing here? Figuring out, you know, where the most Chinese people reside in Canada and making sure that there are signs saying nobody can see what you're doing when you vote. So vote however you want to vote because nobody can see it. Did that happen? No. And then the guy in his riding was chased out by a foreign government, and then they replaced him. Who's doing the vetting here? I know how strict the Conservatives are, and I've backed them up for it because of situations like this. Because it makes no sense. We would have won our Conservative riding. We would have won. Cassidy campaigned for years across northeastern Ontario. It's a 4-hour thing, and she managed to go to so many different events campaigning for 4 years. And then all of a sudden gets a call, or gets harassed. I guess the story is that she was harassed so much that she had to stop running for office. Why is that? And could it be more than just the crazy liberals? I don't know. To me, it might seem like it's bigger than just the left in northeastern Ontario harassing her. Because while we are very left, I'm not quite sure that our left-leaning, I could be wrong. The left could be very angry, so angry that they're going to call a mom and threaten her life and her children's lives, child's life. Does that make sense to you guys? So what was that? You know, it didn't even take long for people to find connections of him with heavily affiliated, you know, things that have to do with China. And nobody thought, maybe, you know, I to be fair, why would you think that when he went to the Christmas party the day before? Which is insane to me. And this is so much fucking bigger than you guys realize. This man is basically, allegedly, in my opinion, an informant now. Chris D'Entremont, I think, more or less did this for the money of it all and the backstabbing and the no ethics. I think this one infiltrated the Conservative Party. Now the Liberals are going to know exactly what the Conservatives planned on doing, what their strategies are. This is bad. And not only that, his connection with the CCP, and if China has that information, they can use it against the Conservatives. What is going on? Guys, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If the Conservatives are part of the bird, then why don't they let them win? Why do you think that this is... you know what I mean? I'm speechless. This is a hard... I don't even want to think about it. I joined Elevate's live. I was really sick last night. And what is happening to Canada? Whose job is it to even protect us from things like foreign interference? We had a Yahtzee at the House of Commons. And then the same place where that Yahtzee resides in Canada just so happened to have a threat to their schools on the Monday after that. Now, I'm not saying there's a connection there. I'm just saying I'm a little paranoid with how many enemies that we have made. And the friends that have been also made behind our back. And the left kind of, from what I've seen, surprisingly agree with us on this. They do not want to see Liberal majority, although, guys, we were pretty close to it. So what were you thinking during the election? You know. But I'll give them credit where credit is due. The left-leaning people I have seen have, been a lot less critical of Pierre during this one. versus, you know, being worried about MarkCarney having a sweeping majority. And just the audacity to come in, do absolutely nothing but probably help your friends, because, I mean, where's the trade deals? You know, I can't believe PierrePoilievre is such a mean guy. He's calling MarkCarney out for going on trips around the world, you know, to get trade deals. What trade deals is he getting? You know, if he came back and actually had trade deals, then maybe we wouldn't complain as much. But it's funny how well Brookfield's doing right now, don't you guys think? I don't know. It seems like MarkCarney is doing what MarkCarney knows best, and that's making shareholders really happy. I don't know. I didn't vote for him and would never have voted for somebody who has photos with Ghislaine Maxwell. Right? So, I'm just saying. And I'm actually at the point where should this be illegal? I don't know, because if I was in... Justin Trudeau's messaging was extremely different from when he first got into office. By the time he left office, he, in some of his old clips, seems very logical and honestly common sense, driven by common sense. And then he, as he was prime minister, got more ideologically driven more and more and more. And MarkCarney he didn't even care when he was asked, how many conservatives have you tried to poach? He acted like that was normal. This isn't normal. You've been in 6 months and our country's collapsing even more than it did a year ago. And you think that we're all going to just buy that you just don't agree with PierrePoilievre at this point? At this point, I recognize how silly Canadians are. As in, it doesn't slide past me in the slightest that I'm thinking if they replace PierrePoilievre, they would vote conservative. That the mainstream media has painted Pierre. We know Pierre is not the guy that they paint him as. Okay, we know that. But I'm serious. They changed their mind after looking what the Liberals did to our country for 10 years, although they only blame provinces for healthcare, despite it being a coast-to-coast issue. That's what they say, Oh, it's not the federal government's fault, even though they set the standard of care. And they were convinced that just replacing Trudeau with MarkCarney would solve all of their problems. So I am convinced that maybe if Pierre wasn't there, they would vote for somebody. But how do we know that they're even going to be conservative? We don't. We don't even know if the conservatives that are in there with Pierre, under Pierre, are conservatives at this point. Oh my gosh. It's all a lot, and it's Christmas, so it's a really fun time, isn't it? And I will say, I'm not going to fully take the 2 weeks off over Christmas holidays, but I am going to cut back and only make a video when I can, if there's something I really, really want to talk about, just because I need to have some presents with my kids. And someone said to me, you only get 18 summers with your kids. You only get like 18 winters with winter breaks with them as well. So I try to spend as much time with the kids during the holidays as I can. And there's so many things to consider when we think about this. So let me know what your guys' thoughts are on this. This is crazy. Canada is a joke. Like, you're meaning to tell me that you guys have something to point out the foreign interference, but do nothing about it. Makes sense. And I want you guys to know that you matter. You're here for a reason, and may the odds be ever in your favor. Okay, let's take a deep breath. Now, I will just say, for the last thing I'm going to say, there is one more, potential appeal to the judge in Terrebonne in Quebec. And that would be a Quebec spot, but still, a Quebec spot's better than a Liberal getting it. So we'll see what happens with that, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.